Hey, all my Cancer friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your April 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Cancer, I'm talking about Cancer rising. This is also applicable to Cancer moon, Cancer sun. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Cancer, this video is also applicable to you. My videos are based on the Pacific time zone. So if you're somewhere else in the world, please adjust for your location. And finally, if you would like to get a reading from me, either an intuitive reading or an astrology reading, I am available. My email is in the description below. Just reach out to me and I'll send you some information. So let's jump into April because it is a very powerful month. We have a Mercury retrograde, we have the second eclipse of the season, and we have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we've been talking about all year. And this is powerful beyond really words. For you, where we start here is with the Mercury retrograde, which is in your 10th house. Aries is your 10th house. And this is going to be where you are really reviewing how you are, I want to say, birthing an individual identity. It doesn't necessarily have to be an entrepreneurial uh, endeavor. It doesn't have to be a business making endeavor, but here Mercury rules our everyday activities. It rules what we think, what we speak, what we learn, how we learn. It rules our childhood experience. It rules our siblings, our teammates, our workmates, our roadways, the escalators. It literally everything within our daily life that moves and that we come into contact with, also our communications, our emails, those kind of things. So as it moves through back through the sign of Aries, it's going to go all the way to the 15th degree, which is going to meet the North Node. Now, your Aries energy is in the 10th house. The 10th house is considered a career house. It is a house that is very public to the world at large or to your community at large. It's a house that holds ambition and drive and building in the material world. So as a Cancer, you're going to be reviewing how you're building a sense of yourself out into the world that feels satisfying. The North Node rules an energy that we have never experienced. And here in transit, it's experiencing a sense of self, a sense of individuality, of a pioneering spirit, of being a hero in my own life. It could even be, taking your physical body to new levels of prowess or athletic ability. We see the sun on the first day of the year conjunct the North Node, and it will continue to travel this way. And at the same time, Mercury is going to go over these points. This point here is Chiron. It is the wound that we carry with us. This would be a wound of the self, not feeling like the self is seen or recognized or acknowledged in some way. And again, the North Node represents an experience we have not had, something we're stretching for, something where, in many ways, a soul's balancing. The South Node represents what we want, and the North Node represents what we want and where we're going, and the South Node represents where we've been and our habitual behaviors, patterns, and beliefs on a soul level. And on the very first day of the month, during this retrograde, we see what's called it looks almost like a yod. A yod is called the finger of God. We see Jupiter at 17 degrees. We see the South Node at 15 degrees, and we see Saturn at 13 degrees. This is not technically a yod because the orb is too big, but there is a distinct blind spot from our history and from our belief system, Taurus also rules history, that is related to this South Node. And that South Node is having a very opposing conversation with what's happening up in your 10th house. This would be your 4th house of home. This is your 10th house of career. So the tension could be very much what you believe about your own responsibilities in the home, providing a safe home, a nurturing environment, a healing environment. So this is very powerful for you. Let's move. And I real quickly, I'm going to mention the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus is already very tight. 3 degrees is where, I think the energy is super intense. But due to the nature of these two planets, I believe we are feeling this all the way back in March. We're feeling the growing conjunction. Let's move over to the 5th. Because when we get to the 5th of March, I'm sorry, the 5th of April, I'm shooting this in March, recording it in March. Let me go to 12 p.m. We will see that Venus is just entering Aries. Now, Venus is considered in detriment in Aries. Venus rules our money. She rules our self-worth. She rules our beauty and our partnerships and our sense of femininity. And we see now on the 5th that the wheel is indeed showing a Cancer rising first house. So you can see this is right on the midheaven at the world axis. This energy is very powerful on this day. And while Venus is considered in detriment in Aries, it's because traditionally a powerful, strong woman was not considered attractive or considered an asset. Instead, she was considered more difficult. So here, I believe that the conversation that Venus has been having over the last few days, the first week of April, has been with Neptune. And what are my beliefs? What are my beliefs about the viability of asserting myself and my wants, my desires, my sense of feeling strong and powerful within my physical and human experience? What do I want from that? Because as she moves through these points, these conversations are going to get more intense. She's going to be ravenous to express herself and to be seen for that. She's going to have her wound exasperated. So when we're looking at this is any wounds that you have in the public eye. Now, this is another thing about the 10th house. It rules a change of status, or it rules status. So you could go from single to married. You could go from married to divorce. You could go from childless to having a child. There's a lot of status changes that are possible, or that you could be calling forth as well. So we'll see this continue on. Venus will not move into her domicile of Taurus for about 3-4 weeks. So at the same time, we see that Mercury is continuing its retrograde, and it will meet up with Venus. So we are going to see how our everyday life is affected, how we want to make our money. There's going to be a reevaluation, a review, and there very well could have been during the eclipse at the end of March, on March 25th, the eclipse that was in Libra, which is your 4th house, might have brought an illumination about something that then is being reviewed, reevaluated, or even strategized during this time as Mercury is going through your 10th house. And here we see this. We're continuing with this conjunction at 3 degrees separation. Jupiter will meet with Uranus the first time exact at 21 degrees. And this is where we're seeing expansion, potentially out of nowhere on the internet. There's so many things about Uranus that are futuristic. It rules aviation, it rules lightning, it rules science and technology and breakthroughs in technology. It rules the cosmic consciousness. And in that respect, they're very similar, because Jupiter rules religion and, big philosophies, broad thoughts. So they're coming together with new ideas. And for you, this is in your 11th house, which represents the Aquarian energy. It's the house that naturally Uranus rules, but here it's Taurus for you. So as you strategize and review, and even potentially transform any wound you have into, a representation of the butterfly from the caterpillar, you could find a lot of bounty and literally monetary success. We are also seeing at this moment, there's a bit of a blind spot here between, this is a half square between these planets and Mars. And Mars is not necessarily considered powerful in the sign of Pisces, but for me, as Mars has been transforming, these planets are, 4 and 5 billion years old. They have been evolving, and the definitions that we use in the form of keywords tend to dumb the planets down, because Mars has been having a very strong conversation with Saturn, and Mars is exalted in Saturn's rulership of Capricorn. So here we're seeing the peaceful warrior. We're seeing something akin to a Knights Templar, maybe even a Robin Hood type energy, where, steal from the rich and give to the poor, because Pisces can be a bit deceptive, but that's going a little to the extreme. Here, I feel like the blind spot is that Mars hasn't seen any of this planetary activity come to fruition. So it's really kind of teeing Mars up as it moves into Aries. That's when it'll be a good time to take action. But for now, there's still this review of where we've been, our history, and how to capitalize on it versus trying to release it. I think that's very important to emphasize. Let's go on to our second eclipse of the year. Is on April 8th at 11:20 a.m. Pacific time. So here we have an eclipse in your 10th house. This is a new beginning, and this is at the Libran degree. So there's a sense of balance. There's a sense of harmony. There's a sense of feeling it almost feels as if whatever tensions were brought up through this 4th house, 10th house energy as Mercury's retrograding, there's some sort of epiphany has taken place. There can be very much a transformation from the wound that Chiron represents to the reward. These very challenging energies like Saturn and Pluto and Chiron, they're very hard in the beginning, but as we nurture those energies, not nurturing the wound, but how the wound compels us, inspires us, transforms us, it becomes a gift. And we see on the day of the eclipse, not only this 19-degree merger of the man and the woman energy to create new life, but a transformation, a peace, a reconciliation of the wound as I have started new beliefs. This is Jupiter at 19 degrees. And while Jupiter's not necessarily having, a conversation with these planets over here, because we would again consider it a half square, that half square could be a tension, but not as tense as a full square. So there could be at this moment for Cancer an awareness through your mind of a shift that's coming. And that small tension, or I should say like a junior tension, is just sort of as you start to birth this into your experience, you may have a little trepidation, but once it's birthed, I think you'll find great bounty for it. And again, I want to emphasize a sense of self, a sense of taking time to nurture yourself, Cancer, to, maybe it's even just going to work out. It doesn't have to be conquering the world. It's more about this individuality, this sort of knowing that as you take care of yourself, you're literally saving those around you. They tell you in a plane to put the mask on you so that you can be available for your children or whoever might be in deficit in comparison to you. We also see Venus making a nice sextile here to Pluto. And this is really uncovering deeper levels of my self-worth, deeper levels of how I want to transform, how I want to use the toxic energies in my life and now transform them into the manure that makes my garden grow. We're seeing a double sextile line here because we have this world axis that we're looking at this time. This wheel is literally making the highest point of the chart is making favor to Pluto, as is Venus. So there's the potential to broaden and expand through my skills, through my sense of worth, and through my own individual endeavors, I could bring more resources and bounty and material security into my world. There's that possibility too. Let's go to the 11th. Put this back to 12 o'clock. And on the 11th, we're going to see the Sun and Mercury retrograde conjunct in Aries at 22 degrees, which I think is very significant because the 22nd degree is a Capricorn degree. It's a mastering Capricorn degree where we're getting into that energy of what do I know about building structure? What do I know about my fears? What do I know about this feeling that I could literally, if I go rogue, I could lose my life if I don't do what I'm supposed to do for others. And I think there's an illumination of some kind. Oftentimes when people talk about a planet and the sun being conjunct, they say that the planet is combust because the sun outshines it. But at the same time, I kind of look at this as Mercury's very used to being close to the sun. It is the first planet after the sun. And here there is an illumination of my childhood. Something is coming forth that is allowing me to implement the seeds or to nurture the seeds that I planted during the solar eclipse. So I think this is super. We also see that Jupiter is making a favorable aspect here to Mars, and that sextile, and so is Uranus, is about being brave in my beliefs, being brave in how I'm thinking. Here's, we see this 15th degree is the Gemini degree, that I think I am, what I think I am is essentially where I'm going there, even though the first house is the house of I am. All right, let's go to our first, we're going to go to the 18th now. And this is where we're going to experience our first fusion of energy between Jupiter and Uranus. This is explosive. This is expansive. This is innovative. This is going to set a tone, not only for you as a Cancer rising moon or sun, but also for the world at large. I tend to think we will see things in the world, in the media, that represent a sense of rebellion. I don't know, I should have mentioned this earlier, but there is rolling around the internet right now, Uranus, is a boycott on Kellogg's, or the talk of a boycott on Kellogg's, because the head of Kellogg's made a flippant comment about inflation and referred something like, well, eat cereal for dinner. And it's brought up an uproar. So here we see Jupiter representing business and expansion and old businesses in some ways, belief systems. There very well could be, because there's a boycott on Kellogg's products that is being called for starting on April Fool's Day, the 1st of April, which is interesting because that's also the Mercury retrograde day. So here we could see something in the media that represents the beginning of a breakdown of a system, or seeing a sense of rebellion, but it's rebellion through the internet's ability to connect those around the world. This is very powerful energy and is literally going to set a tone. We also see that this conjunction is continuing to make a sextile to Mars, which is about being a peaceful warrior, a brave warrior, standing in the light of my own vision. Pisces is actually your 9th house. Here we see it. And so there could be a real change in your belief system. You could really start to believe that as you nurture the individual within you, it feeds those around you. It continues to give them a longevity. It's sort of, you can give a person fish, but when you teach them how to fish, they'll eat forever. Well, when you teach someone how to be independent, they will be able to take care of themselves forever. And here at the same time, on this day, we see Mercury and Venus starting their conjunction with the North Node in play. Ravenous energy to individualize myself, to rethink my teammates, my workmates, my everyday life, with the potential that I can make money, Venus, through how I am. I want to put it this way. The law of attraction is based on your deepest belief, your emotion, but the emotion is what then brings in the thoughts. So here, your awareness of your thoughts and that they represent your self-worth, this makes me feel as if this is a very powerful time for epiphanies, awarenesses, setting an intention for a new experience. And that new experience is the value of self that then feeds my family and those that I love and those that I want to nurture. This nodal structure is sort of asking you, Cancer, to be egoless to your partnerships, meaning as I individualize, I bring a stronger energy into the partnership versus when I'm acquiescing my power to the partnership. I think this is super, super powerful. Let's go on to the 19th, where we will change seasons and we will see the sun enter Taurus. And I didn't mention this earlier, but the sun is actually exalted in Aries. It's in its highest vibration other than rulership. So that was going to add to this dynamic that we're continuing to feel as the sun moves into Taurus. This Venus is now moved past retrograding Mercury, heading into her domicile shortly. But first, she's going to have a little summit with Chiron and then with Eris. Eris is Mars's little sister. Eris is the one that stands up for what she believes in. She's a bit of a scrapper energy. She's strong. She is modern. She's a feminine, modern feminine energy of power and strength and co-creation. So, and as Mercury retrogrades closer and closer to the North Node, these thoughts of how life can be, how I want it to transform, are going to become more and more on the forefront of your mind. They're becoming more compelling. We then go into a full moon in Scorpio on the 23rd of April. This is going to be at 4:48 p.m. Pacific time. And I think this is super powerful because as a Cancer, you rule the fourth house, okay? And here is the moon at the 4th degree, the Cancerian degree. So I believe that what's going to transpire here is a sense of self-nurturing. The Scorpio is your 5th house of entertainment, of fun, of pleasure. It's the keywords are the performer, the clown, the child. So when you go into this scorpionic energy and you're experiencing this full moon, I think it's really going to be a culmination of all the energies that you have been assessing throughout this month. Mercury is just about to reach the end of its retrograde. There's a shadow period of slowing down before it will turn direct at the 15th degree. So I think here this illumination is further evidence that when you take care of you and you're nurturing the sense of your individuality, whatever that is, it does not have to be something where you're conquering something else. It could just be carving out time to reflect, to meditate, to nap, to go play in some way. I think it's going to be very powerful for those around you, because now we see that Jupiter has crossed over Uranus, and it will come, they'll come back into, Uranus is going to move to 22 degrees in just a few days. And that's where we're seeing the Capricorn degree, where we're building new structures that are innovative, that are expansive. And Jupiter rules influencers, it rules marketing, it rules publishing. So there is a writing element here, as well as what we experience with the writing element of Mercury. And when I say that, there's the potential of writing new contracts, writing partnership agreements, even doing something to, you could partner with Luna Astrology recently reached out to me and said, would I like to be a collaborator with them? And I was like, yes, I love this program. So it'd be something like that, but in alignment with how you would exercise your own skills. And again, Taurus is your 11th house. So we're seeing a broadening of your hopes and your dreams. We're seeing something that relates to a futuristic dynamic and how you will spend your days ahead. And we're seeing something that could potentially even benefit the collective as you stretch yourself into more bravery about your authenticity and how you feel about things. So let's look at, we're going to go to the 25th now. And I'm going to just move this back to 12 p.m. We see that we have the exact conjunction again. So this is very powerful. These two planets, Uranus is unexpected, lightning strikes, genius. And then Jupiter is higher education, philosophy. It rules foreign places. This could even represent tourism right here, literally flying to a foreign country. Could be expansive within the aviation sector. I mean, there's so many hues and layers to these planets that we often don't recognize. But this conjunction is really powerful because in about a month, Jupiter is going to move into Gemini, which is your 12th house. And this is going to bring an expansion again of possibilities of hopes and dreams. The 12th house is a very creative house. It is the home to songs, songwriting, lyrics, poetry, dance, filmography, photography, anything that is creating fantasy and whimsy. And here we see this in the form of, again, communications. And it could be very well where you find yourself in a new group of that you're working with, or in a new teammates, new workmates, new situations within your everyday life because you've been calling them forth. We're going to see as well, now we've got this exact conjunction. So your thoughts and your everyday life, you'll be very focused on the future at that point. In many ways, there could be a sense of frustration attached to anything that might be holding your feet back or lagging. And sometimes with the crabs, it could be your own crab crawl going back and forth, really trying to discern whether you're being too assertive or not assertive enough, and how do I use my Cancerian energy on an intuitive level. Aries is a very intuitive sign. Most people don't talk about that because they don't talk about what it takes to go into a battle, whether it be, on the football field or literally on the battlefield. There is a certain amount of instinct that must take place, even though there may be plans, game plans, play plans, or, a plan to implement a certain thing, but being able to pivot when things shift. And I think that's very powerful and very important to acknowledge, because here, this is a strong energy for standing up for yourself, for what you want, and for being able to make bounty, money, resources as a result of that. And we see on this day, this is the 25th. No, I want to go to the 28th. Let me go to the 28th. We're going to see Mars in an exact conjunction with Neptune. Now, I think a lot of astrologers will dumb Mars down here and basically make him powerless, which I think is kind of silly. But here, Mars has really been swimming through spiritual waters. The 28th degree is the Cancerian degree, my dears. And this is where spirituality, you become brave and trusting your connection, not just to your higher power, but to literally the universe. Understanding your emotional body is in many ways a measure, an alarm system if you're going the wrong direction or you're acquiescing your wants and desires. We see the history of Saturn making a quincunx to the South Node in your house of home. So Saturn could be bringing up history that, you have duties and obligations. And so it's going to take brave action from almost seeing further down the line. I remember years ago watching a video of an astrologer, and in the background was a baby crying. And there were a lot of things in the comments about, why didn't you jump up and attend to the baby? But this woman knew that she had somebody taking care of the baby. She knew the landscape of the baby, that he happened to be quite an expressive young child. And so here she stood the course of what she knew she had to do for the greater good in that moment. And the audience didn't quite understand it. I use her as an example because you represent home, you represent the nurturing and the conception of children in many ways. And here, being able to be brave in how you're implementing your sense of self, what's happening in your 10th house, is truly a noble act for those that love you and those that you are nurturing, because you're giving them the tools to fish for life. That's the way I want to put it. And let's go to the 29th, the last 2 days of the month. We're going to see Venus enter her domicile. This is a very strong energy. And then the next day, we see Mars enter his domicile. This is very powerful because this is about brave action. This is about using my skills. This is a time when the energies are very supportive of these two planets. And we also see that we know Venus is going to start to make a conjunction with not only the sun, but Uranus and Jupiter. So the whole time that you've been reviewing your 10th house activity and you've been strategizing about your everyday life and how you'd like to shift it and take it into small doses, little bits of change, Venus will support this as you start to birth a new version of yourself and a new version of your beliefs. And again, we've got business represented with both these planets. Usually the business of Uranus is science and technology and astrology and futuristic things that are related to humanitarian endeavors. We also see philanthropy here in Jupiter's energy. So this could be birthing all sorts of things that in many ways not only use your skills, but capitalize on your sense of history. The 12th house for you is, I'm sorry, the Taurus is your 11th house. And this is a house that represents your hopes and your dreams. It is a money house because it rewards over time, it's co-ruled by Saturn. So this is a very powerful month, and it's not just the month. It's not like the power is going to end on the 30th of April, but what it's doing is the roots are starting to get into the soil of our lives, the roots of our beliefs, the roots of our transformation, the roots of our awareness. And with those deepening roots, the tree stalk is starting to get thick and can weather storms more easily, emotional storms, and the storms of the landscape as the earth itself changes structure to a more aligned dynamic to our soul's intention when we incarnated here. All right, that is it for our month of April. Again, big month, exciting month. March, again, is another big month. So if you would like to take advantage of your own personal chart and get a reading, please, my information is below. Reach out and I'll send you all the particulars. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and come back to my YouTube channel because I'll be back next month. I've also got a specific Jupiter Uranus video. You might want to check that out. And it is, I don't know if you'll see this before the first eclipse, but there's a lunar eclipse video for the end of March as well. But that's a little bit day late and $1 short for this video. Anyway, Cancer, thank you so much for listening. Take care. I'll see you in May.